founder and CEO of Lifewave. David, welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and really looking forward to this.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here because I have questions. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what is Lifewave?
Yeah, so let's see. I'm an inventor. I have about just over 130 patents. And over the past 20, 30 years, I've been developing all different types of technology. Back in the 90s, I was developing survival equipment for the U.S. Navy through government contractors, power generation equipment, emergency oxygen supplies, things like that. And I was invited to be part of a design team for one of the Navy's next generation mini subs. And the Lifewave technology came out of that program. So over the past 20 years, we've done over 80 clinical studies on this technology. And basically what we're showing is that with very, very low levels of light, we can influence the body and improve its health. And as it turns out, that's exactly the way that we were created. We were created to use light as a form of communication and to maintain our health. So that's maybe a little bit to get us started.
Okay, so I have to ask you, what is that Iron Man? There are little figures behind you. Are those Iron Man?
That is Iron Man. Iron Man, of course, is an inventor. And since I've been an Iron Man fan, since I was about 7 or 8 years old, and of course, he's been so popular with the movies, thankfully, I collect all sorts of Iron Man things. So I use Iron Man to inspire me to invent new things to help people.
I love it. Now, in all transparency, I have tried Lifewave. Both Ted and I have, and we love it. And I wanted to get you on to talk a little bit more about it and to encourage other people if they haven't tried it before. For me, what has happened is I noticed that those days that I used to feel a little lethargic and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I didn't have as much energy. I just overall feel better. And I don't know about people who are watching. If you want to feel better, you got to try this out because it works for me, it works for Ted, and I know a lot of other people are trying that. I've heard, David, that your goal, one of your goals, is to get these patches into 1 billion homes across the globe. How are you going to do that?
That's one of the goals. I would say actually the higher up goal that we have is to reverse the aging process. And I study the Bible and look for Bible codes. And we actually have been remarkably successful with that in our research. And so I think if we create systems to stop human aging, that as a consequence, most of the people on the planet will want to have access to that. So one thing takes care of the other. But it's extraordinarily exciting because when we look back in the Old Testament and we see people living to hundreds of years old, I take the Bible as the inspired word of God. So that means every word is pure and is the word of God. And so what that means is there's a lot of things that we can learn by studying the Bible. Well, as it turns out, there is a mathematical code that is present in the book of Genesis and in the New Testament in the book of John. And I found these same codes in living systems like lobsters and ants, and that these codes essentially convert over into wavelengths of light that are responsible for regenerating the cell and improving overall energy and health and resetting the genetic code. So it turns out that the Bible is factually true.
Wow. So we have something in common with lobsters?
Yes, in a way. So lobsters, not only do they not age, but they actually get stronger as they age. And this, in the term of biophysics, we would look at it from the point of view of what is happening structurally within the lobster. In biochemistry, what we'd say is that the lobsters overproduce something called telomerase. And telomerase allows the cells to continue to divide without aging. But there's actually something more fundamental that is occurring underneath that. And I found that in structures within the lobster. So basically, these structures emit wavelengths of light that protect the cells from degenerating. This does not normally happen in human beings, although I suspect thousands of years ago that it did. For a variety of reasons. But the good news is that we can use technology to recreate this. So our fundamental area of research is looking at how we create technology for duplicating this process. But it basically comes back to the fundamental use of light to trigger beneficial health effects.
I love that. Now, unfortunately, some people got some bad information, made some choices they probably are regretting, and that's getting the bioweapon jab.
Right.
I've heard that you have had a small group of people who got the vax, and you're doing a study. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so those studies were actually completed. So we worked with Dr. Brian Daly, who's a medical doctor and also a forensic medical scientist, and has been an expert witness in more than 250 cases up in New York. And so we worked at a hospital to do this study. The first study was with 15 people, and the second study was with 60 people. So the first study was a pilot, which was exploratory, and we wanted to do invest that had been vaccinated. And unfortunately, what we found was that with the mRNA vaccine, 4 months after being vaccinated once, there were elevated levels of inflammation, elevated levels of fibrinogen, elevated white blood cell count, and most alarmingly, there was a mutation in the white blood cells. They actually formed horns and a tail in some cases. So in biology, we would say that the shape of cells would define its function. And so you could say that by taking the mRNA vaccine, it suppressed the immune function and makes people more predisposed to illness. But when we did the follow-up study, and this was in 100% of the people vaccinated, so it clearly hit statistical significance. But when we looked at the larger population where people had been vaccinated multiple periods of time, that the situation actually became more worse. So with these people getting vaccinated 3, 4, 5 times, it did detrimental and potentially irreversible harmful effects to their bodies.
Is this what President Trump was talking about when he said we could heal with light?
I'm not sure what he referred to. It could have been any number of different things he was talking about. I know that he was referencing chlorine dioxide at one point and got laughed at. But the fact of the matter is Homeland Security uses chlorine dioxide to kill anthrax and a variety of other things. But of course, the media wanted to maintain the narrative that the only way out of the pandemic was with vaccination. And we just know this is factually untrue.
Well, David, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy